Mr. Moore. We're going to start a brand new unit today on the executive branch. If you haven't, you need to complete your legislative branch test. And also, yesterday we did 11 vocabulary words. If you haven't submitted those, you need to do those definitely before Thanksgiving. So let's get started. We'll talk about the executive branch. So I got a brand new PowerPoint for you. Oop, I don't like that. Oop. Slides. There we go. Okay, so like I said, this unit is on the executive branch, and I told you guys to have take a look at these vocabulary words from yesterday. All you had to do is just handwrite them and turn them in. I do want to talk to you about these words. Federalism, you should know, is the division of power between state and federal government. Every branch of government has federalism. So, I know federalism was a vocabulary word in the legislative branch. It's a vocabulary word in the executive branch. And guess what? It's going to be a vocabulary word next time. So federalism is very important. It's how power is divided between the states and the federal government. State of the Union address is something you should be familiar with. It's just a speech that the president gives yearly. Typically, it's not required, but typically he gives it to both houses of Congress, in which the president can do a variety of things like set goals, suggest legislation, and just basically give a report of the state of our nation, how things are going. The president has the ability to appoint ambassadors. So an ambassador is just an official representative of our country to another country. A couple powers of the president are pardons and amnesty. They're very similar. A pardon is legal forgiveness. So if, let's say I'm convicted of a crime by a jury of my peers, and I'm sentenced to serve some sort of sentence in prison, the president can say, you're forgiven for that, okay? As long as it's a federal crime. The president is able to forgive federal crimes. Amnesty is the same thing as a pardon, only it's for an entire group of people. So an example of this would be like if a whole group of people came over from a foreign country illegally and were living in the United States illegally, the president can say, yes, you are living here illegally, but I forgive you. You can stay. You're given legal forgiveness. That's called amnesty. So it's just for a group. But a pardon for a group is amnesty. Bureaucracy, everything in our America has bureaucracy. Our school has bureaucracy. It's just an organization that has a bunch of different departments and rules and procedures. Like if you had a question about math, you wouldn't ask me because I don't know anything about math. You'd go talk to Mr. Perkins or Mr. Boland. If you had a question, regarding, if you got in trouble, you talk to, Mrs. Hawkins. Different areas of our school are governed by different people. Okay, so it's bureaucracy. Cabinet. This is not what you keep your dishes in your kitchen. This is people who advise the president. It could also be a group of people who advise a governor, depending upon what level of the executive branch we're talking about. So it's just a group of advisors. Executive order. This is something that the president can enforce that has the same force of law. It is not a law, but it is something that has the force of law. A treaty, formal agreement between nations. States are not allowed to create treaties. Only the federal government can. And actually, the president makes the treaties, and then Congress approves them. That's checks and balances. And then a couple amendments that deal specifically with the president. The 22nd Amendment limits the term of president to 2 4-year terms, with a couple of exceptions, like if you're the vice president and you take over a presidential position due to death or illness, that would not count against you. And then the 25th Amendment defines the line of secession, and we're going to look really at all of these things as we go through, but I wanted to just give a good review of these vocabulary words. It's not a lot. All right, so moving right along into our first slide, talking about federalism. Federalism is at work throughout all levels of every branch, but in particularly the executive branch. So just like any branch of government, the executive branch has 3 levels, and regardless what level of the executive branch we're talking about, the job of any executive branch is to enforce laws. They do not make laws, they do not interpret them, they enforce laws. Now, if you're if you're the president, you enforce federal laws. If you're a governor, you enforce state laws. All right. So, just like any of the branches of government, they enforce laws. Okay. So, the national level of the executive branch currently is made up of the president and vice president, which is President Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence. Okay. Now, what their job is, their job is to execute, carry out, enforce the law of the land. Okay, the laws that are made by Congress. Their job is to carry out those laws, to make sure that they are enforced. Because if you do not have law enforcement, are laws really that important? Think about it. We've all been through Sofia, and we all know that you had better drive 25 miles an hour through Sofia. So think about it. If you had never seen anyone ever pulled over or been pulled over yourself in Sofia, and let's just say the police stopped doing radar there. The speed limit may be posted as 25, but could you drive 60 through there? Well, it's going to stop you if no one is enforcing the law. So law enforcement is an extremely important part of American society, and our executive branch of government at all three levels are the ones responsible for it. Okay? So they enforce or execute or carry out, means the same thing, the laws of the land. All right? Another, the president, well, really the executive branch, is responsible for preparing an annual national budget, a budget for the federal government. Now, we're talking billions and billions of dollars to be planned to be spent every year. Okay? Now, the executive branch is responsible for planning that. That doesn't mean that they approve it, because Congress has to approve of the budget plan of the executive branch. But it is their job to create it. All right. The president and the executive branch also have the ability to appoint a lot of different positions. The president gets to appoint any officer they want to their cabinet. Okay, meaning all those departments that are in the nation's government. Things like all the ways in which the president administers the federal bureaucracy, all the things that are done in order to carry out the laws of the land. The president is just one person, and the president needs help to do that. And so a variety of cabinet positions have been formed over the years, and we're going to take a look at some of those on the next slide. All right, a final, the president does have vast powers, but the final one that we mentioned in the vocabulary is that the president has the ability to grant pardons and amnesty for federal crimes, which is kind of a powerful thing. If you have been found guilty of a jury of your peers in a fair trial, and a judge and a jury has sentenced you, the president has the ability to say, we're just going to dismiss all that, throw all that away. I'm going to do what I want. So it's pretty powerful. It's a pretty powerful thing. Has it been used, for their own personal advantages? At times, usually you see the most pardons by presidents on their last day in office. So, we have a president who's going to have their last day in office coming up in a couple months. Look to see how many people are pardoned on their last few days. Because pardons are typically unpopular because, you're overturning the will of the people. Somebody has been found guilty by a jury of their peers, they're guilty. So pardons are not that popular. But the president really doesn't have to justify their reasoning for it. The president can say, my brother got arrested for possession of a controlled substance, found guilty. I don't want my brother to go to jail. I'm pardoning. The president could do that. Okay? Obviously, it's not a popular thing to do, and you're going to face a lot of criticism for it, but it is a power of the president to grant pardons and amnesty. All right, now, so we said that the president has to administer the federal bureaucracy. So these are the helpers, okay? This is the president's cabinet positions, okay? And there may be some more, but originally, The very first president who established a cabinet was George Washington. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say the president is to make a cabinet, but President Washington did, and that set a precedent for having a cabinet. Now, his first cabinet only had like 3 positions. It was the Department of Defense. At that time, it was called the War Department or Department of War. Department of the Treasury, and the Department of State. Okay, so if you are in charge of one of these departments, you're called a secretary. Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of Defense. Okay, so don't think of it, like a secretary is in like someone that answers phones. These that's just the name of the assistants that is given. These are very powerful people who have these positions. Okay, and their job is to assist the president and give the president advice when it comes to how to administer the federal bureaucracy of the American government, how to best enforce American policy. Okay. And there are more cabinet positions than this. I don't see Homeland Security. I don't think's on here. That's one of the newer ones that was created out of the second Bush administration, the George W. Bush administration. But the president is allowed to appoint anyone they want to any of these cabinet positions. They are appointed positions. Many of them are approved by Congress, however, the Senate. President Trump's cabinet changes like some people change their underwear. It changes greatly. If you look, this is just something I found on the internet. I'm pretty sure a lot of these are inaccurate, but some of them are the same. I know Betsy DeVos is still the Secretary of Education until President-elect Biden takes office in January. I would imagine that about 100% of these people are going to be not in these positions. Is it possible for President-elect Biden to keep them? Absolutely. In fact, President Obama kept a lot of the Bush administration's people when he became president. So it's not like it has to be a total clean house. But I know the General Mattis he's not the Secretary of Defense. I believe it's Mike Pompeo now. So like I said, these can change, and they serve at the will of the president. Okay, so this is how the president enforces laws. He has help. Okay, enforces the laws of the nation, and each of them are specialized. You're not going to see Elaine Chao doing education business. Okay, unless she's talking about school buses, then both of them would be involved. Okay, so just keep in mind that the president does have help, and these are the president's helpers, in addition to the vice president as well. Okay, so it's about 12 minutes. I'll wrap that up today. To next time, we'll discuss the state level of the executive branch when we'll look at Governor Justice's administration, and we're going to cater really toward the state of West Virginia, since that is where we all reside currently. So if you have questions, don't forget I have office hours twice a day, 8:20 to 8:50 in the morning, and in the afternoon, 12:05 to 12:35. Please join. Talk to me. If you have questions, I'm here to help you. You guys are my number one priority. Make sure that you're staying safe, and keep up with your folders. You'll have an assignment to do tomorrow, and then after that, you'll have a nice Thanksgiving week off. I'm not giving any assignments over Thanksgiving, so be thankful, right? So take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and if you need me, please don't hesitate to contact me. Have a nice day.